streaming, the whole concept of streaming has been obviously a continued conversation, especially over here with us, but also within the industry in general. And like, there's been a lot of people commenting on it, and there have been some things that have come out from one of the major labels that has kind of hinted at streaming just ain't working out as well as people seem to think or assume. And we're going to also be reacting to that. And, we're going to throw a couple of things in the mix along the way. But first, we're going to talk about is music streaming and its apparent decline. And this clip comes from Academics, where he kind of breaks down some of the things that UMG has said. Now, this is the first Academics clip that I've ever live reacted to. Don't typically watch a ton of stuff, but he does have some good points and some good comments here and there. So let's go ahead and give this one a watch.
Right? And essentially, in a quarterly update for Universal Music, basically, there was a quarterly update, right? And
headline reading: slow growth for Apple Music as streaming services acknowledged.
Essentially, in a quarterly update for Universal Music Group. Remember, this is the biggest. Remember, there's three big music companies that everything fall under, right? Universal Music Group. That's where you get Republic. That's where you get like the Drakes, the Taylor Swifts, all of them, and a shit ton of other labels, right? Even Capitol. You get Sony Music Entertainment. That's where you're gonna get Epic Records and a bunch of others. Okay, I'm keeping it on the hip hop side that you guys can recognize the labels. And then we get to, like, for example, what else? What's the last one?
Warner Music.
Warner, and that's where we get Atlantic, 300, and a few others. Okay, now what happened is that Universal Music Group, they're actually publicly traded, and what happened is they gave a quarterly report to their investors, and essentially what they admitted for the very first time is that they believe that streaming has capped out, and this is very important. So stay with the story. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Pandora was in the mix. I don't know where they're at these days. They started off on a race to get millions of subscribers once they realized that the music industry pretty much acknowledged their failure in preventing piracy.
I mean, basically, like, same issue that film and TV and all those other big production companies are going through on that side of the industry and the culture is the exact same thing that is now happening to music. It kind of took a little bit longer than I, might have expected, but when you have all these people out there creating all these different streaming platforms and trying to monopolize everything, you come to realize the immense cost that it actually takes to like build and run these things, and then like the small amount of profit that you would actually turn from this. And then obviously when you're beholden to stockholders and like the corporate interest, which is always just beholden to the dollar and always wanting more, it is hard to hit those goals on a continuous basis without raising the prices on people, because there is only a certain amount of people that are willing to continually pay for streaming. And like, once you hit that kind of ceiling, like, where else do you go other than what is happening right now, which is raising the prices on all of the platforms?
So they couldn't stop people from illegally downloading peer-to-peer software. And because that was the case, essentially the music industry, they had to look to the tech industry. And the tech industry is, as much as you think of Spotify as a music company, it's a tech company. So they came with
it's a tech company whose all the major backers and money behind is the actual major labels.
Solution to say, yo, if people ain't buying the music anymore because they could get it for free, we all know the saying, why buy the cow if you could get the milk for free? How about we give them a deal they won't even blink about paying for? We'll give them every music that they don't technically own, but they could stream it on demand. Let them pay like $10 a month.
And that's another major issue I have with streaming. And like, a lot of people are kind of becoming a lot more smarter towards it, and like actually kind of recognizing is that although you are paying a monthly fee for this, and if you really add up how much you have given these companies, it's gonna be kind of quite staggering and shocking if you really looked at how much money that people have put in year after year after year. You don't own any of this. At any time, at any moment, they can remove this music, and there's literally nothing you can do to it. If one of these big artists just said, F it, I don't want my music on Spotify no more, no matter what or how much money you put into it, you can no longer listen to that because you don't own anything. Nobody owns anything anymore. And it's the same thing with film. Like, if they ever decide to take a film off of servers, it doesn't matter that you paid for it. It's gone. And if you read the contracts, they literally say that you do not own anything that you are paying for, which is wild.
We'll treat it like the streaming model, which, by the way, the streaming model is also adopted by Netflix and others. Great. Sounds great. It was basically bringing free money, and the music business was realizing that they were losing so much money they need to make a change. Okay. Every year streaming has been going good. And I'm going to make this a short story. I'm not going to make it too long. Now, the point of this whole story is every single year, Spotify would report, yo, we just gained 50 million more people who are listening. So the way how rappers or your favorite artists and labels make money through streaming is this. Remember, you're only paying 10. Actually, I just looked at my bill. Spotify charged, how much did they charge me? I think Netflix charged me 20. Yeah, Netflix been going crazy. I got to check that. Anyway, let's say you pay $15 for Spotify, right? The way how labels get paid from that is that they pool all of the subscription models. Because remember, you can't buy music on Spotify. You can't, well, Apple Music, they have the iTunes, so you can buy music technically. But let's just only talk about streaming. So Apple Music streaming, Spotify streaming.
I got the prices right here for you. It's Spotify premium individual plan is increasing. It has already increased this year $1 from $10.99 to $11.99, and then premium family has gone from $16.99 to $19.99. So you're basically pushing $20 a month now, and it's only going to keep going up because they know they have the game in a chokehold. Like, Spotify has basically done what Facebook has done and has become synonymous for music, how Facebook became synonymous for like social media and whatnot. Spotify has done that for music. So whenever you hear music, like, yo, where can I hear your music? The first thing that you're going to think is Spotify. And once they know they have that clutch and grip on you, and you don't have a catalog anymore because none of your music is downloaded or on a hard drive or on a CD or even on vinyl, where else are you going to go? And once they know they can do that to you, they're just going to keep raising the prices.
Amazon Music, not purchase, streaming. We're only talking about streaming. And I'm going to tell you why eventually, and this is a big deal. So essentially, every year, the music industry is trying to make more money. It's like any other business. Like Tesla is trying to make more.
That's the thing about publicly traded businesses. They all think there's like one guy on top of everything. Like, no. The only thing that they're like beholden to, and it's not the customers, is making more money every time. It doesn't even matter if they're profitable. They just want to see the price and the amount of money they make increase quarter after quarter, year after year, because that's how the stock price increases. And that's all they care. They don't care how they do it. That's all they care about.
Cars next year. Apple's making more iPhones. Everybody wants to get more, right? These days, people have 5 phones. Like, they want to bring, we're bringing an iPhone to fucking Sri Lanka. Like, they that's how Apple keeps growing. That's how their stock price keeps going. That's why and after they realize the slowdown with the phones, first of all, they'll announce a new phone. Then they'll be like, hey, we're coming out Apple cars. And then we're coming out with AirPods.
And then they will intentionally slow your phones down. Go look that up. That's an actual lawsuit to make you buy more new phones.
They'll keep making products to keep increasing revenue. It's all about revenue. Again, With Spotify and most streaming platforms, the only way they get revenue is from subscriptions. So you're paying your $15 a month. Now, they get to increase revenue if they keep adding new subscribers. So there was a year they were all competing and they were all announcing, yo, we just hit 30 million paid subscribers. And then the other company came out, we hit 45. And what's happened is that all that has slowed. And Universal Music Group, Apple doesn't share their data at all. Apple never shares data, okay? Spotify used to announce data, but they haven't for a while. And people
thing that Apple has over Spotify, even though their numbers are inarguably far lower and far less subscribed or install base as Spotify, is that they have a whole other business to make money from. Even though things are kind of slowing down a little bit over there as well, they do have actual products that people have to continuously buy and want to buy over and over again. Spotify only has subscribers. That's why Apple isn't so like gung-ho about their numbers and like, we're doing this, we're growing this much, like, because they do have a whole other backing business that can easily support their streaming platform, even though it is without a doubt number 2 in this race.
been wondering why. But Universal pretty much kind of snitched on them because that's their partner. Universal owns a catalog. They own a tech company which streams the catalog. Universal says that it's no longer reliable to think that there is more people that aren't on streaming currently that would pay for streaming currently That's
what I'm saying. Like, you basically hit a critical mass of subscribers. The amount of people that are willing to pay the price for the subscription or streaming music and streaming film and streaming TV is not infinite. Like, there is a actual cap. Even if you got the entire population of the planet to subscribe to your platform, like, there's still a cap. And then what happens as the price increases, people are going to start unsubscribing because that is just the nature of it. And like, what's funny is it's going to come back full circle as to when they were like increasing the prices of CDs and vinyls and just physical music. People just started pirating it. And that is actually something that is on the rise yet again, because as they increase the prices of subscriptions and start taking away music and doing all these things, torrenting is back.
They could add to increase revenue. Now, I didn't finish about how people get paid. So that $15 a month, let's say there's 100 million people paying $15 a month. What's that? If it's 100 million, yo, my math be like crazy sometimes. That'll be $1.5 billion, right? So you have 100 million people paying $15 a month. It's $1.5 billion. And the way how it works is that they just kind of do it like it's math, right? It's like, hey, depending on the amount, they break it down via time, right? So, okay, the amount of time, if we're going to split up your $15, where does it go to in your listening, right? So if you listen to old Drake, they kind of almost do it in that way where, okay, we're going to put the majority of what you paid as a subscription to pay to his label, if that makes sense. If you only listen to Yeet, they're going to put the majority. So they do it on a very tiny way. And obviously these are computers doing it. And then they get these payouts to the labels for these artists. Okay. Now there's a
payouts to the labels, and then the labels take their massive cut and then give whatever's left over to the artists. And then later on the producers, and even later on the songwriters. And like, that's literally how you get 0.0000001 of a penny or a dollar for every stream that you get. That's literally how it works. And it's kind of diabolical.
It's way more complicated than that. I'm trying to make it simplified. So I know people be hitting me like, accurate, not being all the way correct. I'm trying to keep it simple for some people who might not know. All right, cool. So that's kind of how money's getting paid out. Every artist wants to get, these labels want to get paid more and more, and these artists want to get paid more and more, right? So finally, Universal Music Group comes out and say, yo, we don't think it's a we can't forecast that the streaming companies are going to still be able to keep adding new subscribers, which would mean new money. So now this is where it's going to change. They're about to then look at the current. So again, it's reached a saturation point. They're acknowledging that basically, in layman's terms, nigga, if you was going to sign up for streaming, you already did. If you didn't, you probably never will. That's kind of what they're saying, right? They're saying we got all the people that were down to get on with streaming already signed up. The people that ain't signed up, they still gonna use their brother account, their bitch account, their nigga account, whatever account, but they're not never gonna get an account for themselves. So then what usually happens, and there's two ways because they still want to gain more money. How do you gain more money if you can't gain more people? And that's the only thing in selling. It's two things. You either got to up the price or you got to start offering new products to those existing people that they could pay more. And this is where
That's exactly what's happening. So not only are they upping the price pretty much every year now, like every year you can just go ahead and expect that price increase. They're like, oh, it's only $1. But like when you start adding up year after year, $1, like that starts to add up a lot. So not only are they starting to increase the price, they're going to offer more tiers and more levels of pricing where they offer you, let's say, high fidelity audio, or like they might just start selling vinyls themselves. Like that's literally their only option, is to either start selling physical product or just start offering more tiers, or like gating more things behind all of these plans, which were even once free. Like if you look at Hulu, I don't even know if they have a free streaming price plan anymore. I think even if you play the lowest amount, you're still going to get ads. So not only are they getting money from your subscription, they're also getting money from the ads that are playing even though you paid for a subscription. And I 1000% seeing Kai and Spotify going that route sooner than later.
the music industry is about to try to figure out some new shit in the next couple of years, because if they can't get more people to listen, they're gonna now, and I've seen a lot of people kind of throw around some theories, and I've heard some theories. They're thinking about doing, live streaming concerts within Apple. Well, they already do, but they want to almost kind of create like a Netflix concert-like experience that you could see on Spotify. If you're like one of the super fans of a particular artist, you could go to a virtual tour. Obviously, they have merch already.
I mean, obviously, like you try different things. You try to get podcasters, i.e., Joe Rogan, academics, Joe Budden at one point, where like these big name podcasters to come in and exclusively get some exclusivity and like get them only on your platform to hopefully entice more subscribers. But even then, that isn't like the biggest crowd or biggest amount of subscribers that you get straight from podcasts. So obviously, concert tickets and concerts and live streams is definitely going to be a kind of realistic route that I see them going.
Built into at least Spotify, but they're trying to get more revenue to get people to pay more. The second thing they're trying to do is that some of these streaming services, they'll offer an ad-based tier, which means you don't pay really, but when you listen to a bunch of music, essentially you hear an ad. So you'll hear like 3 ads and then they'll play your song, right? And the ads are supposed to pay for the lack of subscription you didn't have because you didn't pay.
And there already does that model. That's basically been their whole model from the jump was, yes, you get all this free stream music like a radio, but also like a radio, you're going to have to sit through a certain amount of ads and you just can't skip continuously.
You know what I'm saying? However, that's, just like that's why YouTube has the lowest payout. Ad-based stuff isn't as profitable as somebody putting down cold hard cash. So they want to get rid of that. And again, this is a super interesting time for the music industry to kind of figure out shit, because where this is headed to is another big fight. There's going to be another big fight coming between Universal Music Group, and when I'm saying Universal, I mean Sony probably as well. They're going to follow suit, and Warner, against the streaming services because the labels always want more. That was the fight with TikTok. Give us more money. Give us more money. And TikTok's like, nigga, calm down. No, give us more. All right, we ain't giving you more. All right, take our music off there. They argue for a little bit and they come to some deal, put it back on. You get what I mean? It's like a holdout if you like sports. So a fight is coming because if Universal is acknowledging that revenue isn't ramping up as they would like based on new people that these tech companies are added to or continually to add yearly to the streaming services as subscribers, they're going to just say, well, we need to revisit the splits. Maybe we just need to be an 80-20. I'm making it up. I don't know exactly what the splits are between Apple and UMG or Spotify and UMG. So anyway, this is one of those things that people are kind of monitoring behind the scenes. It's probably going to take place in the next year or two. We're going to see a fight. Just mark this video down. You're going to see a fight between UMG, who, by the way, I think people, as much as UMG is like the greediest label, but for the investors, that's good. Like, they're always trying to bully people. Like, they got the biggest catalog. At the end of the day, they could always say to the people who they're in business with, oh, word? All right, take off Taylor Swift, take Drake off, take this off, like take the Weeknd off. Like, they got the biggest artists in the world, right? And now granted, I do believe Taylor Swift is one of the people who made that TikTok thing happen. This is how crazy Taylor Swift is. Or not crazy, but like how big as an artist she is. She kind of reversed it on UMG to say, yo, y'all get back with TikTok immediately. Stop playing. So she couldn't be used as leverage. And of course, they struck a deal. Anyway.
He's not wrong. Basically, ultimately, like, the only way forward from here is, like he said, there is going to be a big kind of reckoning between streaming platforms, labels, and the artists that they represent. Because, again, the margins for money and like the pot of money is only going to get tighter and tighter. And like he said, all these companies are publicly traded and have stockholders, and like the only thing they want to see is more money and more revenue and more price increase. So there's only a certain way this can go, and Spotify, Apple, and like all these like streaming platforms are going to be walking a very, very tight rope, because as you increase, subscription prices or add more tiers, whatever, you are also going to scare away a lot of subscribers. And will that like increase in price be enough to supplement or overtake that loss of revenue from subscribers? I think that's a very fine line. And then once you continue to do that, like, labels still want their money. Labels are going to want a bigger pot of that money. And at the end of the day, the people who really have the power and control of this is the labels, because like he said, if he decides, I'm going to take all these artists' music off the platform. Netflix went through this. A lot of people are going to leave because people do have their favorite artists, their favorite musicians, or their favorite music. And like, if it's not on that platform, what am I paying for? Like I said, Netflix went through this with The Office, Seinfeld. No, I think they just signed Seinfeld. The Office, Friends, and countless other series that they were at one point licensing from these major like companies. But once these companies started seeing the money that they're making, they decided, why don't we just do our own streaming platform? Because we have this big catalog. And that's only made things a million times worse and super segmented, and like nobody's winning. Nobody's winning. And if that's any direction that the music is going to go, if like UMG, Sony, Warner, all these companies start their own streaming platforms, nobody's going to win. And honestly, I'm like very surprised that an artist like Taylor Swift didn't really follow in her footsteps, because she did put pressure on a lot of these streaming platforms, just even a couple years back, and like really forced them to give out better payouts, at least to the bigger artists. And like, I'm surprised that they have not put more pressure on these platforms, because things are going to get ugly in the streaming world, not better. And like, once you run out of people to sign up for your platform, and that's literally your only point of revenue, it's going to get real shaky from here on out.